Welcome to Kayode's Consulting Council. I am Jigba Firing Teresa, and today we're about to learn how to write a professional CV. And the person to anchor that is Dr. Praise Kobo, and I'm sorry, I beg your pardon. And we'll be calling Dr. Praise to give us lectures and how we're going to learn on how to write a professional CV. Stay tuned.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. So it's good to be with us all today, our online audience, and of course the persons we have here on site. So we are going to be having a section that clearly spells out how we can either craft our CVs or improve on the CVs we've developed and crafted already. So it's going to be interactive, and I hope that you would also, for our online audience, please ensure to note your questions so that we can have that at the end of the day. And please, if you need to react, please do that as well. Okay, so we'll be going into the introduction of what we have today, and there are key aspects we would be focusing on. So the aspects we will be focusing on, the first aspect would be focused around how we can craft our CVs. And of course, we are going to look at the do's and don'ts. We're also going to focus on how to make your CV smart. But then the entry point for us is going to actually be focused on strategies or steps to ensure that we make or craft our CVs in a compelling way. So we will be going straight into the slides so we can understand what we are working with today. So the first thing, like I said, we are looking at the steps. And I'm going to ask a question. So that question will take us into steps for crafting a CV. So if you were taking a move from point A to point B, and you had a large staircase in front of you, what would be the best thing that you ought to do? It's quite simple, but then a response will just take us to that entry point. You're moving from point A to point B, right? And you have a staircase before you, let's say with some roadblocks. What would be the best thing you ought to do? So we need someone physically present to just tell us what they think they would do. So you have a roadblock, right? And you have to move from point A to point B. So what would you do? Should I give someone the mic or? Okay, I don't know her name. Can you help us? What do you think you should do?
Okay. So if there is a roadblock, and I'm from point A to point B, I would move forward from point A. I have to leave point A.
Okay.
That's very important. So, is the roadblock in between?
Yes. So the roadblock is in between points A and B.
Okay. I would work on removing the roadblock.
Okay. So what's that first step you take in removing the roadblock?
Moving forward and taking it out.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. So she said something vital. She said, moving forward and taking it out. So you may have had roadblocks, right? Probably you've sent in your CVs and you've not received a yes. So a yes means probably a call for interview. And you've also received mails like, unfortunately, or thank you for applying, but at this moment, you know how those mails can be, right? So, but then, it means that if you've been receiving those kind of mails, it means that there's either something you're missing out on, something you need to clarify, but most importantly, there's something you need to stretch forth your hands, take off, so you can probably take the right direction. And that's what we are here to do. So the first thing, like I said, we're going to be focusing on would be, the slides would be up, but then we are talking about steps, and that's why we're starting with steps in crafting a compelling CV. So one thing people forget or miss out on is that there are two specific kinds of CVs. So the step you need to take is understanding, am I actually focusing on a generic CV, or am I focusing on a specific CV? So now, my advice is usually that you should have both a specific CV and a generic CV. This is because when that particular job role, you're trying to transition to another role, you need to tailor your CV to that particular job role. So that's why people have been making that error. They keep submitting the same CV for different job roles. I mean, you would never get that call that you're waiting for. So that's why I needed to state that you should have a generic CV and as well a specific CV. So another thing to note would be your top strengths. Your top strengths, and of course, looking at your top strengths, our focus is around our credentials and as well our experiences. So in looking at your credentials and experiences, there's one strong thing I usually advise people. So you will see people who wants to go for an entry-level role. They keep saying that, but I do not have experiences, so what should I do? So this is usually my advice to people. There are ways you can build your portfolio and ensure that you have those experiences in your CV. So the first thing you could actually do would be around looking at personal projects. So I'm going to be mentioning different job roles going forward, and as well how we can really craft CVs in that direction. And my focus would be around, let's say, project management, content creators, social media management. These are jobs that you find people really going for at this age, young people. Remember that our focus is actually young people. So I'm going to go in that line. Then a bit of tech, let's say product management, and all of that. So personal projects, for instance, let's say that you're a content creator, right? And you want to actually prove that you've written a number of content. But how do you do that when the person who you're reaching out to, your employer, cannot see something you have done? So usually, it's necessary to have your portfolio. So you can have content created, right, and publish them. Then you have them probably on Canva, space where you can share the link, so that link can actually be on your CV to show your employer that you have done these jobs. So you don't have to actually wait for you to either volunteer, of course I'm going to that line as well, to volunteer or probably have an internship opportunity. So aside personal projects, ensure that you leverage on your previous achievements. And as you can see on the slides, it's stated clearly there. And I said something about that. I said ensure that they are actually measurable results. And I'm going to emphasize on that going forward. So volunteering, internships, hackathons, group projects. So these are ways that you can also build your portfolio so that you don't keep saying that, but I've not had any experience that can be reflected on my CV. So the next thing is you prioritizing actions, and the actions should equate to results. Now this is how that happens. So you see people just stating responsibilities on their CVs without stating the impact. The impact is the result. So how does that happen? So your action is your key achievements, your key responsibilities rather, and your results is your key achievements. I take that again. Your action is your key responsibilities. And what are key responsibilities? You can say something like led, or let's go in the line, since I've started with content creator, let's say published 20 plus posts that drove engagement and increased visibility for this organization. So that's you stating your responsibility. But what did that particular responsibility help the organization achieve at the end of the day? These are things that would really help you stand out. If you don't state it that way, of course, the employer would never know what you've achieved. So ensure that while you have your responsibility, your achievement is clearly stated. And of course, I'm going to mention how that can really help you going forward. So I stated there that you should have in your CV, ensure that you utilize action verbs. So that action verbs, when I was talking about the key responsibilities, I said something about led, so facilitated, executed. All of those are action verbs that specifies what you're doing. You don't need to. So I've seen a number of CVs where you're personalizing it. I did this. No. So ensure that your responsibilities are stated as actionable. So of course, I said something about the soft skills and as well the competencies necessary. So moving forward, I will just take us through what a CV is. I needed to start with the steps, but then it was funny when someone went for an interview, and guess what the question was? The question was, what is CV? And the person couldn't answer. And that's, as little as it may sound, that was how the person missed out on that opportunity. Imagine after getting through the first stage, just interview stage, so you can probably receive the next calling mail for you to begin, something as vital as CV the person could. So this is just basically for us to understand, have a bit of clarity around CV. So curriculum vitae, and of course derived from the Latin word, and what it specifically means is the course of life. So that's why you see that it's called that way. But then there's actually a slight difference between CV and resume. So some countries actually use that interchangeably, but then there's a slight difference, and I'm going to take us through what the difference is. But then resume is derived from the French word, and it means summary. So I've stated what curriculum vitae means, but to now define it in a word, I love to see my curriculum vitae as my complimentary card. So you don't have the second opportunity to make your first impression, that's best impression for the employer. So how do I do that when the person can't actually see me? Is to ensure that my CV portrays my skills, my interests, what I have been able to achieve in the past, and of course my aspirations going forward. So this is why you have it stated there. And there's something that I said clearly at the end. I said it's your personal marketing documents and your professional marketing too. So it's both personal to you and of course professional. So this is a way to sell yourself from what I've stated. And of course, this is your first encounter with employers. So if you don't make it a compelling one, then of course you never get through the door. So what is the difference between CV and resume specifically? So the first thing would be on the part of the length. So most times the CV for standard, like I said, generic CVs. So I had someone who had a 23-page CV. Yes, very possible. I won't want to mention, of course, this is live. So 23-page CV, but that's his generic CV. So if he's applying for a particular role, he definitely will not submit that CV because it will make no sense even to the employer. So that was why I said from the beginning that you can actually have your generic CV, but then your specific CVs as you're applying to each role is very important. So the next thing to really state, like I said, the length for standard CVs, 2 pages, for resumes, 1 page. That's on the part of length. So that's the first difference. So we have the contents. When you're looking at the contents, they're almost same, but most times for CVs, it's usually attracted towards academic work. Of course, you use that for employment as well, but then you would hardly find people requesting for your resume when it comes to anything academic. So we're also going to talk in the line of the different kinds of CVs, because we have the career CV and we have the academic CV. So the next thing, aside the length, the contents, we have the purpose. Both are actually serving same purpose, but most times for scholarships as well, you're usually asked to submit your CV, not your resume. So the next thing to really focus on now would be something very key. Now, people do not understand that multinational companies, when they request for CVs, imagine 10,000 plus persons applying, right? And you'll be wondering, how would they review 10,000 plus CVs? That's because there's a software that helps streamline CVs according to keywords. Keywords. And I stated here that it takes an average of 6 seconds to get through the door. So how do you ensure that your CV gets through that door in 6 seconds? So the best thing you need to do at this point is to research keywords. So immediately you get that application for a particular job role, if you have noticed, they spell out the responsibilities, right? What they are looking out for in that particular person. So what you should do, read through it and go to check for yourself what are the keywords you've noticed in this particular job role. For instance, you're talking about an accounting role and you're reading through someone's CV who is applying for that role, and you don't find important keywords like budgeting. I mean, that's something that ought to be there. So the best thing to do is just for you to go online, right? Check out. So if I'm applying for a social media role, what are the keywords that should be in my CV? I mean, we have AI these days, right? Nobody is saying you should go to AI to write your CV, because we have AI dictators. But our advice is that you should research key roles. You would find that in the application document, but then you can also check that online. So with that idea, it helps you streamline your CV using those keywords that are necessary. So the next thing we'll just focus on, and this software is actually called Application Tracking System. So your CV has to be tailored in that line. So crafting is a standout CVs. I've already stated something about you focusing on the industry keywords and ensuring that your CV is ATS compliant. So what are the other things to focus on? You should also focus on your strengths, which I said from the beginning. And then that reflects in your key skills actually. Then the next thing you would really pay attention to in crafting a standout CV would be the the previous slide. Yes, thank you. So professional summary, right? And the professional summary is a place to sell yourself clearly. So you find people putting generic words in this aspect, and of course, they are not tailoring their summary to what is most important. I'm going to run through because we want to focus on the anatomy of a CV, which is why we are here, right? So up-to-date work experience, educational qualification, quantifying your achievements, we'll see that clearly, and as well, ensure to tailor your CV to the job description. So I still see this in CVs these days, and we keep wondering why we still have all of this. So you're creating biases for yourself if you keep having this in your CV. So every very personal details like your age, your local government, all of those things are completely not necessary. So what should you do? Was it last week we saw one and the person still stated your address, the person stated number 6 Sholomo Street. Are we coming to visit you? Nobody's coming to visit you. So you don't need to state your address clearly. We just need to know your location, right? So if it's Lagos, Nigeria, let's say you're applying for a job outside the country, Lagos, Nigeria does the deal. If you're in Makurdi, Nigeria does the deal just fine. Or Makurdi, Benue State, right? So the next thing to focus on that I still see is the aspect of gaps in your CV. So people really don't understand when we say gaps in CV. So imagine that your last employment is 2016 and the next employment on your CV is 2018. What were you doing between 2016 and 2018? You are not there physically to prove to them. If that has happened to you already, well, we can't fix that. But then, if you eventually get through the door, one question you could be asked during your interview is, why do you have that gap? So you have to explain to them why you have that gap. So it means that if you're still working on your CV and you're still building your portfolio, ensure that you don't have gaps. So if you're working currently and you probably want to transition, or you currently do not have something you're doing, personal projects, we've made reference to that. You could also leverage volunteering and internships that we already mentioned. Just ensure that you do not have all of those gaps in your CV. Your references, we don't need that. I still see people writing reference upon request. It's not needed. If you get through the door, you have your details, which we would see in the next slide. Your details is there, your email and your phone number. So they'll reach out to you if they need a reference, right? Then the last aspect is generics. The generics is you just openly saying, especially for those persons who still use AI. AI will always write your CV in a generic way. Sometimes, I know some persons would probably write their CV and now ask AI, help me amplify this. To make it really clear to you, some organizations, especially multinationals, they have AI detectors. So once it's detected, that's how your CV goes out, right? This also applies to opportunities. We were at a meeting yesterday, and one question somebody asked in applying for opportunities, the person asked, can I write my essay myself and put it on AI? No, you shouldn't do all of that. So the next thing, these are just soft skills that employers are actually looking out for, and if you have these skills, definitely it will help you prove that you are working at doing something great at the current level where you are. So the next thing, I would not focus so much. So this is like a breakout activity before we go into the anatomy of a CV. And I'll ask a question here for us to just move. So imagine we have two employers standing in front of us. You have employer A, right? And you have employer B. So this question is asked to them, and let's say you are actually the employer. So what you need to tell me now is, if you have the capacity to employ someone, who would that be? And here's my question. So employer A says this. Now this person, let's say this person is actually applying for a job in a manufacturing company around, let's say, juice, drinks generally, right? So the person said, I make juice that serves my audience well, and I do that daily. I make juice that serves my audience well, and I do that daily. Then the second person says, the reason why I make juice is to ensure that people live healthy. I know that we already know the response. People live healthy and are also ensuring that our juice has a calming effect in the body. So if you are the employer, which of them would you go for? A or B? You can just respond. So why? Okay, so he spelled importance of the drink, right? Towards the body. Thank you. So most times, what people just want is, they want you to go the extra mile to put out your work and what you've done to ensure that your work met this outcome. Remember what we said? We said actions, then results. So this would bring us closely to the anatomy of a CV, which is most important for us. So the anatomy of a CV, these are aspects you should focus on for your CV. So we have the headline. This is usually a question for people because it's not something common you always see people talking about when you hear people talk about CV writing, right? But then let's say you're applying for a role as a program manager and you've handled projects, you've done work around research. Remember that if you're a program manager or a project manager, you should also have that research skills. You've done work around that. And let's also maybe say you've done work around advocacy. So the headline, just like we have on LinkedIn, right? Where you have the headline. So just immediately after your name, it is best to have 3 or maximum 4 aspects you want your CV to focus on. So I can say program manager, right? Sorry, program management, then advocacy, research. Then of course, you probably just use something to differentiate each of them. So that's just what the headline spells. Then the second aspect is the professional summary. We have the work experience, the educational background, the core knowledge and competence, and as well trainings and certifications, awards, if you have all of that. So now let's go to the core. So I said something about your headline. So immediately after your headline, right, the next thing you should have on your CV should be your contact details. So what we just need is your full name, your phone number, your address. I've already stated how your address should be, your email address, and your LinkedIn. So you'll be wondering why I'm emphasizing on your LinkedIn URL. Most recruiters now go to check people up on LinkedIn immediately. So if you still have email addresses, all of those funny email addresses we had while growing up, I think mine was Gentle Dove, something in that line, I can't even remember, because I was too gentle. So imagine combining Gentle and Dove. I just wondered why they had to call me Gentle Dove, but then that was the kind of email address I had then. So if you have all of that, Queen plus all of those emails, please just ensure that your email should focus on your first name and last name. Then, of course, if your name is already available there, I know they give you options. Please just add symbols. Symbols does the deal. If you still can't find symbols, personally, I don't like numbers like 200, though, but then just try to see. You could also merge your middle name. Definitely you'll find a way out. Then, if you can see downwards, you can see where I stated how it should be specifically. So I was using myself as an example. So as you already know, my name is Praise Akobo. So you can see the address. That's my email address as well, my phone number, and my LinkedIn URL. This is it. So if you already have this, like I said, you don't need your reference. So the professional summary, and like I said, this is very important because the first thing the recruiter or the employer is looking at is your professional summary. So this is just a personal statement of yourself that spells out your objective, who you are, what you can offer. So it should be immediately underneath your personal information, that's your contact details, right? And within the range of 3 to 4 sentences is advisable. So you don't have to make it so bogus. Focus on your key achievements and of course how you want to transition to that role if you're not already on that particular role. So I used this word specifically. I said it's your sales pitch. So you need to state why you should be selected for that particular role. So why should I pick you amongst thousands and millions of persons applying for that role? So that was why I said something about generics. So you still see people saying, I want to add value to this organization. In fact, people still say any organization I find myself in. Those are generic statements. So you have to do your homework, research that organization, that particular role, who are they looking for? What are they looking for in that person and the offering, what the person can offer? So let's give an example now. So let's say for someone who is going in the line of, we started with social media, then we went into the project manager role. So I can now begin to say detailed. Remember we said action verbs, right? So skilled, oriented, detailed personnel with 5 years. This is me. So detailed experience, or detailed personnel with 5 years plus experience in managing projects, reports, advocacy. So you are stating, remember that headline. You're now coming to your professional summary to state it clearly. And that number of years of work experience has made them know that, oh, wow, this person has actually done a lot on this space. But then it's not just about talking, right? So it means that every aspect of your CV has to be tailored to that. They need to see what you have done, your personal development, which comes in the line of certifications, and we're going to see that all of that needs to still be tailored. So detailed personnel with 5 years plus experience in managing projects that has improved. I can decide to state the organization, but then if I don't want to go that detailed, because of course you still see that in your work experience, but I can say that has improved the overall organization's ability to deliver by 20%. So the use of numbers, statistics, very important. And that's why I said your CV has to be smart. So if you've helped that organization save money, if you've improved the networking of the organization, whatsoever you have done isn't small. So you see people saying that, especially students, they tell you that, oh, I've not done so much, I've only volunteered. What did you achieve? Even if what you did was in a team, what did you do personally in that team? So that's what they are looking out for in your professional summary. So when you're done stating who you are, remember I've already mentioned plus 5 years plus experience, then I've stated what I've done. Then the next line, you can now say adept in managing priorities. Remember I'm talking about project management role. Priorities with communication skills. So this is where you now mention your skills. Communication skills, what are the skills needed for project management? So you can state 3 key skills on that particular line. So the idea is what you can offer, state your skill, what you have done, and towards the end, you're now stating what you want to give to the organization or the reason why you're applying for that role. So when I'm done stating my skills, I can now say that I mentioned you don't need to use I, right? So successfully led projects with donors. So you can state the donors. This is for project management specifically. You can state donors that you've worked with and probably the funds that you've helped the organization raise. So if these funds achieved a certain project, you can also state it in that line. So this is all you just need to do, let's say, in the line of professional summary. So I won't want to talk so much on that. So what you have to do for the work and volunteer experience. So the reason why I had to put it this way, people will tell you that, but I've not had a work experience and I want to apply for an entry-level role. So what do? If you've volunteered, if you've had personal projects, you can place that as volunteer experience and then list out your key responsibilities and achievements. So one mistake people still do is they don't list it in chronological order. So your most recent experience should be what comes topmost. So if your experience is probably you worked in Kayode Kounsulting Council, you state that as the topmost. And if it's a place you're currently working, right? So of course, 2024, February, let's say February 2024, to present, to date, state it clearly. Then your other roles should now come underneath, but chronological order. So don't place where you worked in 2010 before placing where you worked in 2014. So please, let's note that clearly. And all you just need to do state is the job title, the dates. You actually don't need to state the employer. This was for an opportunity. And as well, the summary of the roles as stated. Ensure they are in bullet points. We'll keep emphasizing on this part, your key responsibilities and achievements. Ensure that they're in bullet points, and ensure to back up with figures, percentages, and data where possible. Now, I listed an example here. I said, did you help the business grow or make profit? How? Some persons will just state it blindly. Supported the business in growing. How? This is what they need to see. How did you do that? And at the end of the day, what was the result? Then the next thing will just, okay, this is basic, your educational history. This is just you following the same order, chronological order, right? So the name of the institution, the dates, the qualification for an academic CV. You don't need to state your qualification if you are applying for a job. And then there's actually a better way to state a qualification if you didn't do so well in school. So imagine you can't go and state, what's the next thing after to third class, right? You can't go and state that on your CV. So there's a better way to present it in percentage. Then the next thing would be what you achieved, right? And your achievement probably in school. So you can state that clearly. Your key skills is just looking at that role. Remember that we said that for that particular role, they've stated the persons that they are looking out for, right? So check the skill that they are looking out for. If you don't already have those skills, please, no lies. We've stated already that it's not a big deal if you're not already qualified for that role. And we're not saying that you shouldn't try, but then what I usually do is, if at that point I'm not at that level, I give myself the next 3 months to build on that. So let's say that your interest is around data analysis and you already do not have skills in that line. So you can place a target for yourself, take courses online, build yourself, probably volunteer in a particular place so that they see that the certification you have achieved, you've actually applied that physically. And that helps you. We have other skills like the human resource excellence, communication skills, and the rest. So for this point, all you have to do is to list out your certificates, qualifications. We are already rounding up. Okay, your certificates, your qualifications gotten from different opportunities, be it training, online, wherever you got it from, and it is relevant to that job role, then you place it there. So imagine you're applying for accounting, and what should I use to, okay, yes, you're applying for an accounting role, right? And you're going to place all the certifications you have there, nothing around accounting, nothing around budgeting, nothing around financial inclusion and all of that. All you just have on your CV is possibly around communication and the rest. That does not validate that you're somebody strong for us to really bring in on board. So, yes, so awards, honors, and recognition. So you can include the times you were recognized for doing good, whether in school, the company you're working, the organizations, in same chronological order. So we just need to know the name of the award when you received it. Simple. And the research and publication you see there, this is for academic CV. So you can state like a link, you can give us a link to that publication, right? So I said something from the beginning that if you're applying to a role, a tech role, or a social media role, projects, and all of that, they want to see your portfolio. So you can utilize, let's say, Canva, have all you've done, Google Docs, so many things, so many tools that you can actually utilize. Just have all you've done in that particular document, then you create a link from it so that anyone who clicks, and please make it accessible, so that anyone who clicks can see everything that you have done. So this is you validating that, oh, you've actually worked in this role, or you're growing yourself in that role. So you just have it. So there's a way you can actually derive a link and just have it as portfolio, and it's clickable. So your LinkedIn link as well that you place, you can also make it clickable on your CV. Then, aside the research and publications, one mistake I still see people making is when it comes to the key skills, you can differentiate the technical skills from your core competencies. So let's say it's still project management, right? And tools that you can utilize as a project manager. You can utilize tools like the Power BI, then of course the Google Doc we know, Trello, Jira. These are tools that are very important as a project manager. So if you have that stated differently as technical skills, then they see that, oh, you're not just utilizing the soft skills, you also have like technical skills, and you've utilized it to back up. Now, it's not just about stating those key skills. If it does not reflect in your responsibilities and achievements, for instance, you can say utilized Trello to manage projects that achieved. Remember, we're talking about the key achievement. So in as much as it's great to state your key skills, let's say 5 of them that you've utilized, technical, soft skills, and all of that, but then ensure that it still reflects how you've utilized it in your CV. So I know content managers, they use hot suites, right, to schedule posts, all of that. So if you don't have it stated in a particular place on your CV that you've utilized that, and this is what it helped achieve, then of course you're not showing us how you've done that. So taking us back to that keywords that we're talking about from the beginning, those keywords, that software already has those keywords. So if a CV is placed and those keywords are not, this is why it's very important, and those keywords are not on that CV, they immediately screen you off. So I just needed to reemphasize that so we understand how important it is. So please ensure that you're researching keywords and you're doing that strategically. Don't say because we're told to research keywords, you now make it a buzzword. So everywhere we're now seeing budgeted, I mean, what's that? So if you have 5 responsibilities and achievements, right? Remember that for each of them, starting each word, you should have a different action verb that links to what you've done. Successfully, I mean, we have 1 million of them, led, facilitated, utilized. When it comes to tools, all of those things are important. You state them that way so we can really see what you've done. So we have just 2 slides left, and this is just about your CV formatting. So always ensure that you see some people, the work experience has a different font. The educational background has a different font, and your CV is scattered. These are certain things that it shows that you're not organized. The ATS can pick it, and even if it's a human reader, right? It just shows that you're not organized. So of course you won't get in through the front row. So basically for standards, usually advised to utilize Times New Roman, and as well ensure that your font size is within the range of 12 points, and your heading should be so that there can be a difference, let's say between the range of 14 to 18. Your page margin is necessary. Avoid long paragraphs and be consistent with alignment. So if there's an alignment you focused on from the beginning, ensure that it's consistent until the very end. The last aspect would be around the formatting. Okay, let's see. Okay, I've talked about formatting, so the submission rather. Thank you. So I've had someone who mentioned that she submitted her CV as a Word document, and before it got to the person, probably depending on the software the person utilized in opening that document, it got disorganized, right? Of course, the way the person arranged it was different. So it's usually advisable that you submit your CV as a PDF so that it retains the the way that you submitted it. And ensure also that you submit your CV with a cover letter. That shows how it shows that you can go the extra mile when you're giving little. So a cover letter just introduces you. It specifically states, of course, that's not a conversation for today, but then it specifically states why you are applying, your skills first, what you've done, why you're applying for that role on one page, and as well why you want to be offered that particular opportunity. So you can just merge it in one PDF file and ensure that you rename it, of course, according to your name, and then you make that submission. That will definitely give you that opportunity to be called. So before I wrap off, I still said I was going to mention something that I've seen people constantly do on their CVs. So that would be me going in the line of an action statement. So if you have the opportunity to get through the CV, to get through the screen out process, and you're called for an interview, I just mentioned that briefly. There's an approach that has really worked. Whether you're being asked to introduce yourself, I just felt I should mention that. There could be someone in that shoe at the moment. There's an approach that just makes your response really clear. So you can utilize the STAR approach. The STAR approach. So the STAR approach just focuses on, so STAR. So the S is just talking about that incident, right? The T is the task that you've done. The A is the action. I'm still taking us back to the action and results. And the R is the result at the end of the day. So let me introduce myself, let's say, in that order. And for this particular one, I'm just saying it as relates. Let's say I'm actually applying for a project management role. I'm still going to emphasize on that. So I could say that having seen the challenge, the community, I'll name the community for them. Remember, it's an interview, but I won't want to mention any community right now. Or let's say, imagine XYZ community has faced flooding. And I met a young lady who, as a result of the flood, was drowned. That's me just stating. So what was the task I did? I began to collaborate with other organizations in the community who were doing work around solving flood issue. That's like the task. So what was the action? And we jointly, so it shows the team spirit, and we jointly began an advocacy drive to see that drainages are being fixed. That's action. And at the end of the day, what did it do? It reduced flooding. States clearly. And remember that we said something about utilizing percentages statistics. So you can say at the end of the day, it reduced flooding by 30%. And with that, I would just say thank you very much. And remember that the power to make your first impression, your best impression lies in you. And you have that power to ensure that you're being called for your interview. Thank you so much.
Thank Dr. Praise for that wonderful and powerful section. We'll be right back after the short break. Oh, you have a question?
Okay. Would they be answered during this training? Welcome back, everybody. My name is Nwozor Goodness Gift, and I'm your second trainer for today. Today we'll be talking on the topic workplace excellence. Okay, workplace excellence. That's what we'll be taking today. But before I start the presentation, I want us to know that the purpose of this training is for all of us to learn one or two things. So although my presentation is going to be very brief, try to pay attention. It's going to be brief, so it will not exhaust your attention span, but try to pay attention so you can learn one or two things. And also take notes of your questions. So at the end of the presentation, you could let us know your questions because there will be a Q&A session. So now let's just go straight into it. Today the topic is workplace excellence. Work together, excel together. During the course of this training, we're going to learn a couple of things. The first thing being, what is workplace excellence? What does workplace excellence entail? What is it all about? What is its importance? Why do we need workplace excellence? Is workplace excellence actually a thing? What does it entail? That's the first thing we're going to be talking about today. The second thing we're talking about today is the elements of workplace excellence, the components of workplace excellence. That's exactly what makes up workplace excellence, what promotes excellence in a workplace, in any organization you find yourself. What are the components? What are the things that need to be present for efficiency to play a role? Thirdly is we'll be talking about the challenges and the barriers you face while trying to achieve excellence and efficiency in any workplace. Of course, we know that in any place you find yourself, in any organization, any company, despite the fact that we already have a goal to achieve, there are certain challenges you're bound to face. So what are these challenges? And then fourthly, we're going to end it off with how do we overcome these challenges and how do we ensure that in any place you find yourself, and in any company, organization or that you're working in, that you're able to achieve workplace excellence. So now we're going to know the challenges, and we're also going to get to know the solutions to these challenges. So let's begin. What is workplace excellence? Workplace excellence can simply be defined as a set of practices, behaviors, and conditions that lead to a highly effective and productive work environment. What does that mean? That simply means those are the practices that you need to carry on and that you need to have as a person. In any organization you find yourself, in any company you find yourself, those are the practices you need to imbibe, basically, in any place you find yourself in order to ensure efficiency in your workplace. So before I go further into this training, I want us to think about a puzzle. So now, think about a puzzle in your mind. I want everyone to think about a puzzle. So in a puzzle, this puzzle in this presentation is going to be representing success. But we know that for a puzzle to come together, there are different parts of a puzzle, right? There are different parts of a puzzle. So every part of the puzzle is very important to ensure efficiency or to ensure that the puzzle comes together to become one. Does that make sense? Okay, so in this situation, the puzzle, the pieces to the puzzle, the pieces that make up the puzzle itself is what I classify as the elements or components of workplace excellence. Please, the next slide. Okay, so in order for you to achieve efficiency in any workplace you find yourself in order for you to achieve efficiency in any workplace you find yourself in, there are certain things that need to be in place. There are certain things that need to be in place for you to achieve success or for you to promote efficiency in your workplace. There are numerous things that need to be in place, but today, just to make it brief and for us, our attention span not to be exhausted, I'll be focusing on just 6 major things that need to be in place to promote efficiency in a workplace. The first one is employee engagement. What does that mean? Employee engagement simply means involving the employees or the staffs in a company to the point whereby they don't just understand, they know that they're not just there to work, but then they are also there to achieve a particular goal. Employee engagement is harder to do than most people think it is. Employee engagement is harder to do than most people think it is. Why? This is because it's not just about giving employees certain tasks to do or telling them, okay, do this, do this, do this. It's about letting them know that every single activity that they are playing or that they are coming to work every day to do has a major or has a big goal at the end of the day, if that makes sense. It's a thing of activity versus productivity, if I like to say. It is, if I'm an employee in an organization and every day I'm coming and they're telling me, oh, just do this, because I don't understand what the company itself is trying to achieve. I don't understand the goal. I'm not involved to the point of understanding what they are trying to achieve. I'm actually not engaged. I'm not being properly involved or engaged in the company's activities. All I'm doing is I'm just a worker. And when you're in that position, you cannot really own what you're doing in that company. Does that make sense? You cannot really own what you're doing in that company because you don't understand the value of your day-to-day activities in the company. But when employees in a company are engaged or are involved to the point where they understand that I'm coming to work every day, not just to work, but even the little things I'm doing plays a huge role in this huge map that we want to get into. So that's the point of engagement that every employee in a company needs to be put into, to understand the fact that them being in a company is not just there, but they need to be involved to the point of understanding the clearer goal and having the goals and objectives of the company in mind. Does that make sense? So secondly, you'll be looking at effective leadership and management. This is very important in ensuring workplace efficiency in any place you find yourself. This is specifically for people who are the leaders or the heads of the company. So in any company we find ourselves, notice the level of hierarchy. Every company has a structure. The structure depends on the company itself. But most times we have the CEO, we have the directors, if it's in a very big organization, we have head of departments. Is that so? In every single company, there is a level of hierarchy. Now this is mostly for leaders because some people have the misconception that when I'm already in a position of leadership, I don't have much to do. People below me have more work to do. They are the people that are supposed to work. Do you understand? Let efficiency come into play, or yes, people are supposed to work for the business to grow, but that's not the case. I believe that when a leader or someone that's put in a position of the top of the hierarchy, they actually have a lot more role to play than they understand. This is because anybody who is a leader in any organization has the responsibility and obligation to serve as a source of motivation and inspiration to other people. Motivation and inspiration is very important because if you don't have a drive to do anything, if you as a leader, you don't serve as a pillar of a drive or motivation to other people below you, then how are people below you expected to work? You need to show up every day, even as a leader, understanding that you're not just working for yourself, but you're working for the people behind you because they are looking up to you. If you know it or if you don't know it, people are looking up to you. So every day, if you're the head of the company and you walk into the company, you say you resume by 9 a.m. and you walk into the company 8:59 a.m., naturally people that are resuming under you, even if they are resuming by 8, they want to come to the company 7:30. And you might not think you have a level of impact in it, but you do. And because you decide that, okay, you're going to understand that you have other people behind you looking up to you, and you just make it a responsibility and obligation in your mind that, okay, I'm going to actively do this and do that just so I could serve as an inspiration or motivation to other people behind me, then naturally people around you are going to do the same, and efficiency and productivity is not going to be too far from your company. The third one is one that I think is very important: professional development. In any organization, it's very important for the employees, the staffs, and even the leaders themselves to have opportunities to promote and improve on their skills regularly. This could be through trainings, through conferences, through seminars, and so much more. This is an example. What we're doing today is an example. This is a training. This is a training for people that are watching. This is a training for people that are physically present. And this is also a training of members of Kayode Kounsulting, because whether you know it or not, when you're walking out of this door, you're not going to be walking out of the door with the same knowledge you came in here with. You're going to learn one or two things. Even if you don't think you learned it, I promise you by tomorrow when you wake up, you're going to be like, oh, I listened to that training today, or okay, I'm going somewhere to do my CVs, or I learned about CV writing today, this. Or okay, I went to a training today, and even if I was just behind the camera, someone mentioned something about for me to promote efficiency in a workplace, I need to do this and that. Naturally, you're going to make it part of your professional life. So I think professional development is very important in any organization. It's very important that if you're in a position of a leader or the top of an organization, it is very important that you make those provisions available for other employees in your company. Set up trainings for them, sign them up for conferences, sign them up, tell them to go for seminars. Make it a priority to your company. And if you're an employee in any organization and that is not in play, that does not mean you also cannot do that by yourself. You can decide that, okay, because where you're working currently would obviously not be the only place you work. One day you wake up and you're like, I want to start my own company, I want to start my own media house, I want to have my own law firm. These are things you wake up one day and have to do. So if it's not available in where you're currently working, that's not an excuse. You could go ahead and join the online training. Here in Kayode Consulting, we do trainings every Wednesday, 1 to 3 p.m. And we also do trainings on Sundays from 3 to 5 p.m. So you could definitely check that out as well. The fourth one is clear goals and expectations. In order to promote efficiency in any workplace, you need to have a goal. You need to have something in mind that, oh, this is what I want to achieve. And this is very important. Reason being that in many places that I've worked in for the past years, and they don't have a certain goal, they might be doing something, that doesn't mean they're not doing anything at all. But they might end up acting below their capacity. Why? Today, you might just be a startup company, started up today, and you did not create, okay, in the next 1 month, I'm a media company, I want to have, okay, 1,000 views. All you're doing is, let's just be going and be going. Anyhow we see it, we'll take it. Tomorrow, at the end of the month, you might actually end up having 10 views, and that's something, right? But you have the capacity to do so much more. So why do you feel like, oh, let me just do things anyhow it is? No, you have to promote efficiency. Efficiency is not just you getting from point A to point B or just doing 1 or 2 things. It's about ensuring that the results you're getting is due to the amount of capacity you can get. And you cannot get to that point if you do not have a vision in mind, if you do not have clear goals and expectations in mind. So it's very important that in any workplace you're working in, as a leader, as an employee, have a goal. Let's say, okay, by the next 3 months, this is where we want the company to get to. And that's going to help you, at the end of the day, provide workplace excellence. The fifth one is very self-explanatory. That's effective communication. In any place you find yourself, in any organization, in any company, you need to be able to communicate openly and honestly. It's very important. If I just spoke about goals and expectations. If, okay, we know, okay, for the company I'm working at, this is the goal. By the end of the year, we should be the biggest company in advertising. By the end of the year, we should be the biggest law firm by the end of the year. But you're not communicating that to other people around you. Your employees are not being engaged. It's just the leaders that are talking between themselves, or it's just the colleagues that are having in mind, okay, by the end of the year, this probably should be the thing. This probably should, but nobody's talking about it. Nobody's, like, communication, honesty and transparency is not there. Communication is something that there's a gap in communication. Definitely that's going to lead to lack of efficiency in any workplace. Even in your relationships with everybody you have in your workplace, it's very important that in order to get to the point of efficiency and excellence in your workplace, you also need to have a good relationship with people you stay with. If you do not have proper communication with them, there is no level of teamwork, you're the person that you're like, oh, I'll just go to work today. Anyhow it is fine. I'll just take it. Nobody talks to me. I don't talk to anybody. My face will be straight and I'll just move on. At the end of the day, it's going to affect the company in the long run. So that's the reason why in any workplace, in any company, in any business organization, it's very important that communication, open, honest, and transparent communication is very important in order to promote efficiency and excellence in the workplace. The sixth one, which is my personal favorite, is recognition and awards. Has any of you here ever been recognized for something you've done before? Have you ever? Personally, being recognized is something I love. Like, I like when I get something done. I mean, that's not the only reason why you're getting it done, right? But just doing something, putting in the work for something and being recognized for that thing at the end of the day gives you a sense, it gives you the best feeling. The feeling you have after that is, I can't even explain it because it's such an amazing feeling. You're like, oh, it gives you a sense of motivation to want to do more. It makes you want to do more. It makes you want to do better. That's just it, whether you know it or not. And it's not just to you who got the recognition or the award, but also to people around you. If today now I come into the office and then I'm seeing, oh, this person was recognized because, oh, they're always coming early. They will do. If it's me, the next day I will come by 6 a.m. if that's what it takes for me to be recognized for the next month. And that obviously is not just the major reason. Like, that should not just be your driving force. But definitely when you recognize and you reward people for things that they do in a company, it gives them and other people who are watching a sense of motivation to want to do more. And naturally, that's going to lead to a form of efficiency and productivity in your workplace. Does that make sense? So now, with that being said, we're going to go into the barriers to achieving workplace excellence. As I already said, workplace excellence are the set of practices, behaviors, and conditions that lead to efficiency in a workplace. It's a puzzle. I already said that. So these elements I just spoke about are the different pieces that you need to make to ensure success, to ensure that the full puzzle comes into play. However, normally, if you're trying to solve a puzzle, there are some challenges you face. If it's not tiredness, so it is, oh, I was trying to solve the puzzle and this part was missing. Something is always happening. So relating that to workplace excellence, these are also the barriers and challenges you have in achieving workplace excellence. Not to provide or not to have efficiency in any workplace. There's some challenges you're going to face, whether it be due to internal or external factors. There are always going to be challenges you're going to face. Now, one of them is, my first challenge here is resistance to change. I can't lie, I was waiting to talk about this particular challenge because there's a very funny example I want to give. Not funny, but hopefully very educative as well. Okay, so there's a company I know, let's say Kayode Fishing Company. It's a company that has been existing since 1980. I think it's 44, 45 this year is my last company. Thank you. So in this company, they basically what they do is importation and exportation of seafood, right? But this company, I told you, was established in 1980 or 1979, around 44 to 45 years this year. And just know that at this particular period of time, this company enjoyed monopoly in terms of the fishing. Like, they were the beginning and the end of its resistance. Like, they did not have any competition, if that makes sense. Especially seeing how long that they have been there, you could tell that they did not have any form of competition. But obviously, as time went by, more people, everybody wants where it's moving. That's just the truth. So as time went by, more people started finding out more about the business and they started coming more into the business. So how the company originally did their things was, okay, I want to buy something, I want to get something. If you come to the company, then they'll just write down your name in the book. Oh, madam, welcome. They'll just write down your name in the book. Everybody knew each other, like, okay, this is it. But obviously, technology came into play, right? People grew the business. People started doing new things in the business. So, I don't know, they started losing customers because he was like, okay, 20 years down the line, you're not the only person doing this again. If for me to get from you, I have to come and get it. Meanwhile, there are other people that I could go to. They'll deliver it to my houses. I'll go there. You'll not be asking me where's your receipt. You already have a system. Your system was too ancient. People are bound to leave that. And then the major issue with this was even when they tried to put in technology into the system, there was a lot of, oh no, cannot put this is not what I used to, this is the way we used to do things, this is the way we used to. It was a serious problem at the time, like, no, I'm not going to change. Color sizing computer when there's biro and pen. These are the issues that we're actually having those times. This was like, not until like 10 years ago did we bring in computers into the company. Before then, everything was hand and mouth. Until, no, this is what happened. No, there was no proof, there was no technology, if that makes sense. So to just round that up, basically the employees and the leader himself, the CEO himself, did not want certain changes to be made. And that's obviously due to the fact that they did not want to take the risk of, okay, can we even handle this? And that's a problem. Why? Because it's going to lead to reduction in efficiency, right? You have the capacity, you have the labor, you have the capital to get to a certain level, but just because you're so scared of changing, or just because you're so scared of learning new techniques, you're not willing to see the other part of life. And if you don't get to that point, obviously, naturally, efficiency is going to be very difficult to achieve. Hopefully, none of us get to that position, however. But then this is basically just to say that in any company or organization you get into, it's very important to understand that change is the only constant thing in life. If You can even create a thing of, okay, fine, the next, every 2 years, we are going to do a review of, okay, what can we do better? What can we add to this? What could we remove? You cannot resist change if you want productivity. If you want efficiency in any workplace, you need to be willing to move on. If there is something that needs to be done, you need to be ready to get it done, no matter what it takes. So that's definitely a very big barrier that most companies, even to today, are facing in terms of workplace excellence, which is workplace efficiency. The second one is leadership inconsistency. Inconsistent leadership is basically, if there is inconsistent leadership in any organization, by inconsistent leadership, I basically just mean a leader that's not motivated, a leader that does not care. All these leaders, I'll just feel like, okay, because I'm there, no problem, every other person behind me should get the work done. Inconsistent leadership, in my opinion, is once the leadership in a company is inconsistent, the company basically dies. That's the end of the company. So it's very important that, as I said earlier, if you're in a leadership position, if you're in any position of hierarchy, if you know there are people that are looking up to you, even if it's just one person, it's very important to be motivated, it's very important to be inspired, it's very important to get the job done. If not, naturally, efficiency, productivity, and success is going to be very hard for you to achieve. The third one is communication gaps. As I already said earlier, this is a very important element, as I mentioned, in achieving workplace excellence. In order for you to achieve workplace excellence, you need to have proper communication. Lack of proper communication is going to create a gap in the relationships of people in the organization. That's one. And it's also going to make the mistake of not letting people in the organization have the same alignment mentally of the goal, because why? There is no communication. This is very self-explanatory. The fourth one is lack of employee engagement. As I also said earlier, if in a workplace employees are not being engaged, that is a very big challenge. If the thing about their employee engagement is that people think it's very easy, it's not. Especially in very big organizations. If an employee is not properly engaged, if they don't understand their role in that organization, making a person understand their role in an organization is very difficult to do. If they are not made to understand their roles in that organization, then it's going to serve as a challenge naturally to efficiency and to productivity. So that's a very big challenge in promoting workplace efficiency. Lack of employee engagement, not employee engagement. The fifth one is lack of training and development. As I already said also, training and development is very, very important in workplace excellence. Many organizations, their member, after the interview stage, that's it, no other training is there again. That's why you now see people like the earlier speaker, Dr. Praise said, you now see people making reference to AI for everything. Write about this, ChatGPT. Do this, ChatGPT. They cannot think again. Why? Because after their first stage of interview, there is no level of training. There is no opportunity for them to improve on the skills that they told that they had during the interview. You're not making those opportunities available. The organization is not making your company, organization is not making the opportunity available for them to improve or promote their skills already there. And it's a very big challenge in workplace efficiency, because how can a company serve other people when the members of the company themselves are not trained? Is that possible? Exactly. So it's very important that in any organization that the members, the employees, the staffs, and even the leaders of that organization or the company are trained. Their skills are seen as valuable assets that improved on every single day. The sixth barrier to achieving workplace excellence is lack of employee well-being. In any organization you find yourself, no matter the kind of person you are, if your well-being is not being properly taken care of, you can never work in that kind of environment, and that's just it. To me, I take mental health and my well-being very seriously, because although obviously in a workplace, it's not every single thing that is based on, like, all my challenges or me not being able to work might not just be due to my company. Obviously, people face their own personal issues. But the thing is, at least in the organization whereby these employees or these people are coming to, are their well-being in terms of job satisfaction being taken care of? That's a very big challenge. That's something that most people don't really look at in these organizations. Some people just want you to just deliver. Anyhow it is, just deliver. They don't care if you're sick today, just deliver. They don't know if you cannot walk, just run and deliver. And that's not the way to promote efficiency or success in any workplace. In any workplace, it's very important that your employees' well-being, both their mental, physical well-being, is a priority to the organization. Reason being that until their well-being is properly taken care of, at least in terms of job satisfaction and in terms of the organizations making proper provision for their well-being, until those parts are being properly taken care of, an employee, a staff, a leader cannot act. That is just it. And this is a major barrier towards achieving efficiency in our workplace. So now that we've spoken about these challenges and the barriers we have, what are the solutions to overcoming these challenges? That's something I like about this topic. Despite the fact that we have those challenges, we have those barriers that we face. There are still places today that they are still very efficient. They're acting up to their capacity today. Why is that? Because despite the challenges that they faced in putting the puzzle together, the puzzle still came together at the end of the day. So now, during the course of me talking about the challenges and barriers, I already also spoke about the solutions, but let me just recap it again quickly. The first solution is implementation of change management strategies, and this is in relation to resistance of change. So it's very important that in a company, the leaders especially, and even the workers, try to implement change management strategies. That is, even if there is a form of resistance to change, provide strategies, provide a way that is going to make it, first of all, easier for people that have been there before to understand the value and the reason why this change is necessary. And secondly, provide a way and method that would make it easier to change, that would make it easier to be willing to change over a particular period of time. As I said, change is the only constant thing in life. But change is not something that happens immediately. It's something that happens over a period of time. So it's something that you know that has to start. It doesn't just happen in one day. It could happen over the course of a month, 3 months, 6 months. But it's very important to implement adequate change management strategies. The second one, leadership consistency. Ensure that leadership development is a priority while establishing regular leadership training and mentoring programs to reinforce consistent and supportive leadership behaviors. What does that mean? As I already said, a major barrier to achieving workplace excellence is the inconsistency of leaders, of people that are heading people that have people looking up to them. Their inconsistency in understanding their roles and obligations in those companies that serve as a serious barrier to promoting efficiency in the workplace. So now, you solve this by ensuring leadership consistency. This is, first of all, leaders as well. It's not only employees that are entitled to training. Leaders, despite the fact that they have certain positions, they are leading other people. You cannot know everything. Every single skill they are acquired, and there are still skills to be improved upon. So it's very important that in order to promote efficiency and productivity in a workplace, that the leaders are consistent in terms of their behaviors, their ideologies, and understanding of their roles and obligations in the company. And at the same time, they also undergo adequate training themselves so they could also impact on other people below them or under them. Thirdly, promote open and transparent communication. This is also very important because in any organization, as I already said, if there is no adequate, open, transparent, honest communication, then the organization cannot move forward. And this is very good because this is also mostly done by the human resource manager most times in the company, in which they serve as the mediator between the management and the employees in the company. So definitely this is a solution. Just try and open it, try and maintain it, and try and promote communication in the company. That's very self-explanatory, honestly. The fourth one is enhance proper engagement. Involve your employees, involve staff members, involve the leaders in understanding the clear goals and roles of the, what should I use? It's very important for you to help the leaders and for the employees themselves to be able to be engaged or involved in the point that they understand the goal of the company itself. And that's the solution. How do you involve? The question here is, I think this is more of a question. The question here is, how do you involve employees? How do you enhance employee engagement? Number one, we could have annual meetings. Okay, at the end of every month, we'll be holding this meeting to speak about our progress so far. This is what our goal is in 3 months. At the end of the month, we're going to meet. This is where we are. How do we get to this point? Okay, what do we now need to get to this point in the next 2 months? Okay, this is where we are. This is where we need to get to. No problem. So how are we now going to get to this point? That's involving them in understanding that those little activities, as I said earlier, plays a major role in them achieving workplace excellence, and it also plays a major role in achieving the goals and aspirations of the company in total. The fifth one is creating a detailed training plan. This could be through in-house training, online courses, and even external workshops. So as I said, the major challenge is proper training and development programs being given to the employees, the staff, the leaders. So what kind of solution can we do for that to no longer be a problem? We have to create a detailed training plan. You could say, okay, fine. In the company, every single week, at least once a week, we're going to have trainings. We're going to do this. At the end of the week, we're going to have trainings on, we're going to talk about this, we're going to talk about that. So that's creating a training plan. That's helping to promote their skill one way or the other. You could also say, okay, there's this seminar going on here in Abuja. I'm going to register all my workers to go for this seminar. This seminar, you're talking about growth. You're talking about growth in the professional environment. So these are all ways. You need to create a standard training plan and know, okay, so in this next month, in this next 2 months, I want my employees to know about this. This company focuses on this. However, I want them to know about this. So they would add that knowledge and those skills into the company so the company could grow. The sixth one would be prioritizing employee well-being. Foster a supportive environment with holistic well-being programs for physical, mental, and emotional health and well-being. So that is basically saying that, as I already said, a major challenge in many organizations, even in Nigerian organizations, is that they don't prioritize employee well-being. They forget how much employees actually need to be involved mentally, not just physically, but mentally. You need to be in check mentally in order to ensure that they can be able to carry out their tasks, in order to, in the long run, promote efficiency in the organization. So you need to prioritize their well-being. How do we do this? In some companies I've worked in, we have a therapist. It's not very popular here in Nigeria, but it's very important that if possible, if you have the resources to do this for your workers or for your staff, or for the members of the organization, irrespective of what their work might be, it is very important to, if you can bring a therapist into the company, that's their job. Maybe they come in every Thursdays. It's going to go a very long way, even without you knowing, because when a person's mind is in check, physically they'll also be in check. So, in conclusion, I would just say that I hope from this training you're able to understand, you're able to pick just at least 1 or 2 things so that you could add it to your professional life. If you're in a position of a leader and you're running an organization or you're running a company, firstly, try your best to promote employee engagement in terms of your work, not to promote efficiency. Serve as a form of motivation and inspiration to members of your organization. You could do this in different ways. Even just by the way you speak to them, enhance open communication in any organization you find yourself. Put yourself in the position whereby people would want to look up to you and know, okay, I want to be like this person in terms of this aspect of their life professionally. Okay, I learned this and this from the head. Okay, I could definitely add this to my organization. I could definitely add this to myself, self-improvement in my professional life. So it's very important that if you're in a position of a leader, put yourself in the position whereby people would want to look up to you. And if you're in position of an employee, irrespective of, you might feel like your rank in the position is not very much. You might feel like, okay, I'm just at the bottom of the hierarchy. There is nothing like bottom of the hierarchy. You also have a very, very large role to play in enhancing efficiency and productivity in your company. How? Try to involve yourself in everything that you're being done. Ask questions. If you're unsure of something, be willing to ask questions. Communicate. If you have any form of questions, be able to communicate openly. Okay, these are my needs. This is what I want. And also, be actively try to improve yourself. As I said earlier, even if the company does not provide trainings for you, provide trainings for yourself, because not only are you going to help in the companies in promoting efficiency and productivity in the company in the long run, but also going to help you as a person to promote yourself and to do better yourself. So this is all about workplace efficiency. Please, if you have any questions, there's going to be a Q&A session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Praise and Ms. Goodness Nwozor, for that wonderful section. I hope that you all learned something and you have something to take back. In the absence of no questions, I just want to thank everyone that came today. Okay, so we're going to take some questions.
Okay, so I'm just going to take the first question. I don't know why it wasn't asked, though I didn't check the YouTube channel. So it was sent to my WhatsApp. Probably the person joined in. So the person was trying to find out, I said something about a description, like you introducing yourself during, let's say, possibly like an interview. So the person said, I went straight. That doesn't mean you won't introduce yourself with your name. So I was giving like a perspective to how you can probably explain something you've done. So, but of course, when we say, can we meet you, the basic thing to begin with would be, for instance, my name is Praise Akobo. I work in the development space. I've been able to support. So that narrative I gave was just you trying to give clear perspective on what you've done, not that that's like an entry into everything. Then another thing is for your key achievements, your key responsibility and the achievements, ensure that the aspects where you did more, like your key achievement, should be at the top most, immediately after the description of each work experience, so that that's what catches the employers first before the other aspects you're mentioning. So I think those were the two key things I saw. Then someone said we should recap on something around keywords. Yeah. So what I just said there was, for each job role, check out what the job application has. Probably we would have brought out one, but then a job role as relates to social media management, everything they need in that job role. So what your own assignment, aside what they've stated, is to now check online, just ask the basic question, what are the keywords needed for this particular role? So when you see it, it helps you tailor your CV towards that direction. That's just basically what you need to know. Thank you.
Thank you again, Dr. Praise. Thank you so much for giving us those clarifications. I want to thank everyone that made out time to join both online and made out time to be here. Thank you so much. And then I want to invite you again for next week, Wednesday, for another Power Pack program. And it's going to be on the new age of the AI technology. I hope to see all of you. See you, and God bless you. Thank you.